We know life can be messy, and that's why you need a plan. Here at the Lifestyle Group, we want to meet you where you are in life and help you create the best home remodeling plan for your lifestyle. To us, plan is more than just a word. It's an acronym we live by for our clients. To always be prepared, to lead you through the process, to adapt to what you need, and to make sure there are no surprises. Each month on the Do You Plan podcast, we'll look into home remodeling projects that have inspired us, taught us, or can teach you for your future home remodel.
Thank you for doing this very much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And you're my favorite jeweler.
Well, thank
You're
you.
my wife's favorite jeweler.
Thank you.
That's unfortunate for me in some respects.
Mm-hmm.
But I have always been a fan of your business. I love the boutique feel. I love the neighborhood feel. And there was an article that I read in my remodeling world many, many years ago. And I think I told you this once. And it was that their remodeling companies are very, they're very like small, controlled businesses, independent businesses, right? Mm-hmm. And with all of the consolidation that goes on in industry with banks and other things, that's never taken hold in our business. And they were talking about what were the businesses that were similar to the remodeling industry that aren't in our business. And they mentioned jewelry stores and funeral homes. And
way extremes.
Way extremes, right? One probably that I wouldn't want to spend a lot of time comparing to, and the other one that was very interesting. But the article was actually talking about how you should go outside of your box to learn how other businesses function that are similar to you in other industries, and see what the shared threads are through those through running those businesses. So I've always had that in my pocket, and I've always thought about that as I've interacted with you guys. But you have an interesting story to me too, because I was a customer before it was yours, right?
Okay, yep.
And so I remember many years ago going in and saying that my wife has a vision. I kind of know what that vision is. I am going to propose. We're going to create something, and hopefully she's going to like it. And that's where we started. And I did that through G Thrap in 2007.
Okay.
And that happened, right? So when did you buy the business?
We officially took over the 2016. So it was April 2016 officially.
And were you working there at the time?
I was. I had been with Thrap since 1999. So I had been in there since my 20s, 30s, 40s, and now we're in our 50s at Petite G. So
and so my business started in 1999 as well. So we have that at least common parallel. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we would go in there, and I just liked the vibe, the relationship, the mm-hmm. people. And then when you bought it, I want you to talk about what it was like, how you got into that business, and then how it came to be where you bought it.
Okay. Well, we have a long time,
there you
don't
go.
we?
We got plenty of time.
Cheers.
Yep.
I started in right after high school. So I was going to college and part-time working at a jewelry store, and I loved it so much. Excuse
mm-hmm.
me. That I thought, forget going back second semester, which my mother wanted to wring my neck. But I thought, I'm going to follow my passion.
Yeah.
And so I did. I worked at a little boutique in Castleton. I'm really fortunate because I've always worked at boutiques. And I think that's why I continue
mm-hmm.
to have like a boutique atmosphere and that small, intimate. I worked at a boutique. I loved working with the people. I loved seeing people get engaged and redoing the wedding sets. And it's like the happiest time in people's lives.
Right?
Always happy.
Yeah.
90% of our business people are happy, right? We do have that little small percentage where you do have to divest some jewelry because of a death or a divorce, which is clearly never fun. But that's what we do. And that's what we should, we continue to do in our business. So I stayed in the industry after giving up my second semester of college and just kept working through different jewelry stores, getting I would say promoted in a way, going from larger stores that then carried bigger brands, did a little bit more, was a little bit deeper in the jewelry, and then got to travel for the industry and be a buyer. And that was very appealing to me because then I got to work firsthand with the designers that you hear about, you see their names on the, like the David Yurmans of the world.
Yeah.
Like there's David Yurman walking into your booth while you're buying Yurman. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So that.
So take me back just before you started the buying, because I'm actually very, very interested in that. But I'm curious, when you were learning and selling, compare learning and selling jewelry then to selling jewelry today. Is it the same or different? The sales piece.
The sales aspect is definitely different today because, as you know, probably in your industry, what we hear all the time is, well, I can get this online for this much.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, now we have bloggers, we have influencers, we have TikTok, and all this is out there in that media world. When I started, it was the man coming in to buy the engagement ring. Maybe she would come in as well to give him some ideas, but now it's the Pinterest page, the look what she's created, I need to get this. So it's definitely a lot different.
That makes a lot of
different
sense.
Experience because it's just more competition. You have more competition out there, like all those venues that I just listed, and everybody that wants to be a wholesale jeweler, and everybody that's selling online, and the Real and Gilt, and all those platforms. And you have guys that are independent that people can go to that are a wholesale diamond broker.
And you have clients who realistically, truthfully, probably don't know the difference in a lot of these things, and you're having to educate them as well, right?
Oh, definitely.
I mean, like they just don't know. They see a picture and they're like, it would be in my world of remodeling, it would be for somebody that would say, hey, I'm just going to go get a faucet at Home Depot. And I'm like, no, you don't want to do that. They've got plastic parts. They're different. You don't want to get it there.
Yeah,
you need to get it from a plumbing supply place because you don't know, right?
All
and
the guts and what's inside and the backstory and what is entailed in making either that piece of pipe or that ring and what components go into, what alloys are involved, and yes, what all is stated online. So that's the major difference is we used to have just the brick and mortar, everybody walk in, you go to your favorite jewelry store from either a referral or seeing it on a billboard and you buy jewelry. But now it's definitely a lot more competitive.
So, okay. So now take me into the buying process. So you started to travel and now you're seeing things. What's that process like then being new? I'm sure obviously very exciting and you're constantly learning, but I also want you, as you talk about that, to compare what it's like to you buying today, owning your business, and how that is different if you can.
Well, it's definitely different because it's always easier spending somebody else's money, especially a store that had been there for, so many years. It's like, yes, you go by reports and you go by fast seller reports and you do all your data that you want to. But when you have somebody else's checkbook, you're like, oh, one extra is not going to hurt the store.
Yeah.
It's, if all else fails,
I'll sell it.
We'll sell it. Yeah. And we always sell what we love, right? Because we're passionate about it and you're excited about it. Same thing with your industry, the latest, the greatest, what's hot, what's shiny, what's new.
Yeah.
That's just a given. So it's hard. So from back when I first learned the industry of buying, so I probably being younger was very awe-inspired by the big brands and the names.
Like a David Yurman type of an approach.
Like the David Yurmans of the world.
That was the first purchase I made at G-Threat, by the way, which is a cool little, I'm going to call it a promise ring. You know what I mean? I mean, kind of that first little I'm going to get her
ring.
Something, and I'm not going to the wedding ring yet.
Not quite there, but let's put something on her finger.
She's going to know I'm into her.
Yeah, very cool.
That was it.
He was a trendsetter, and he plowed the way for a lot of other designers by bringing. When he came into the business, it was all gold in the 80s. And he came knocking on the doors before the internet and the influencers and said, I'm David Yurman and I design silver. And I think Gary Threps shut the door on his face and said, we are a fine gold store. I'm sorry, I'm not going to sell silver in my shop. And he's like, no, you don't understand. This is going to be the latest and the greatest.
And he was right.
And he was right.
Very right.
So we had sold, I believe Thraps was the first in Indianapolis to carry. So yeah, just being awe-inspired by these big brands. Now, as a buyer and as an owner, For me, I like to carry the more niche designers, the smaller boutique, because you can go to Neiman's and you can go to Saks and you can see the Roberto coins and the John Hardys, and they're easy to buy online too if we don't have those big department store. So I like to find those little hidden treasures that you're not going to see, and it's paid off. I truly have women coming in going, okay, this is where all the cool fashion jewelry is in the city. Where do you get this? Who is this designer? I'm like, well, it's just a little ancient Chinese secret. Now I do display the designers' names, but I really try not to have the big brands anymore.
Yeah.
So
and it's a differentiator because now you're not competing.
Correct. That's right. And that's what you have to worry and think about.
Yeah. Do you interact with peers in your business like I do? Like I have no problem having conversations with other reputable remodelers and saying, hey, what are you seeing or in marketplace, or like, what are you experiencing? Do you have that world of interaction, or do you feel like you're on an island just trying to find the next things to stay relevant to your clients?
Good question. Probably a little bit of both. Obviously, you don't want to leak out what may be coming or what you might be carrying.
Sure.
But I depend on my designers and my partners, because we treat each other as partners.
Yep.
And that we have exclusivity.
Yeah.
And if we're going to cast our lot with them and advertise for them and build their brand as well nationwide, because we look at what other similar stores in other cities have. So that's going to help build their brand.
Okay, so you're looking outside the marketplace to get your ideas as opposed to the competitive landscape here.
Correct.
That makes perfect sense.
Because I don't want to carry what they carry. And I won't. And we do have designers that say, well, they're 9 miles away. And yes, it is a different world from Meridian, Kessler to Carmel. It is. But I really want to keep it separate.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm going to ask you a question only because it's a curiosity. If you don't want to answer it, you don't have to. It's when you are displaying I'll call them an artist, or what do you call your partners?
Like an artist, a
designer. If you're just displaying somebody's product, are they providing it for the display, or are you buying it and then selling? Like, how does that exchange work? Or is it different?
That's very interesting. And that's such another great question. When I opened the store, I had in 2016, when Gary decided he was going to retire at the end of 2015, I had 3 months to come up with a business plan, get a business loan, and decide I'm going to do this. So where does the average bear that can't depend on mom, dad, family money, grandma money, come up with millions of dollars to load their cases?
Yeah.
Because I was a buyer, because I had been in the business for 28, 30 years, almost 30 years at that time, I had really good relationships with designers and vendors that trusted me. You've worked here, you've bought our product, you've stayed loyal to us. When you open your business, I'm going to help you. And here's how that help works. I'm going to load your case, and when you sell a piece of jewelry, you cut a check. And that's what we've stayed true to. We have probably, when we opened, we were 90-10, 90% consignment memorandum, 10% asset. And there were some designers that I did carry and launched with that were not memorandum or consignment based. So you had to buy in. Okay. And if I felt strong with it, I opened with them and I bought in. And then they would give me some memo support at around Christmas time and heavier seasonal. Now, 6 years later, we are probably 80-20, just in 6 years, because every month we do a memo report. We pay. They said, Dana, we get more checks from you than we do people who pay us for buying their product. So I have stayed very true and very strict that we pay for everything and on time. And that's how I've been able to make that.
Well, that's the relationship piece, right?
And that's the relationship.
And that's where the crossovers are interesting. So I look at it in my world, and I've got a showroom, but my product, they're not diamonds. They're hardwood floors and cabinets, and every one of my partners is charging me for the displays, and then I sell their product, and then they charge me for the product too. And that's fine. I understand that they can't provide everybody's displays everywhere for nothing. I don't worry about that. But the thing about paying on time, being quick, being the best partner that you can be to create that true loyalty and that relationship is everything. So if I have a partner that gets something done today and they need a check tomorrow, we'll cut it for you.
Yep.
But generally, it gets done on Wednesday, you're getting paid on Friday. And most people don't do that anymore. Some people are like, we'll pay you in a month. We'll pay you in 60 days. And I'm like, no. I want you to come get my money because when I call you, I want you to be responsive. And
you'll be the first to get product.
Yes, absolutely.
We're the first to get that new piece of design that they've made because they know that we'll sell it and then we pay for it.
Yeah.
So
I'm really interested in your, I want to get to your trunk shows, but I want to back up. So now you've got your loan, you've bought this business. What's the first thing that shocked you about owning it that you had no idea that Gary dealt with that you're like, oh, what am I into now?
Well, I knew, and I always heard him say, your employees are your biggest asset and they're also
your biggest liability or your challenge.
Biggest liability and can be a challenge. So being retail, being more brick and mortar in this time is no one wants to work retail, and especially after the pandemic. Yeah, everybody can work from home. You can make really good money. Again, there's the TikToks and the influencers. Yeah. Those people are killing it. So why go stand behind a counter and sell some jewelry? So that's been probably the biggest challenge is keeping employees. And
do you think as we're starting to hit a downturn or a pullback, I just take in a lot of content through podcast and just, get information wherever I can. There are a lot more conversations about those free rides coming to an end for the young people who haven't had to work or who aren't real interested in going into an environment and digging in. Do you feel like there's a chance that's going to pull back and that our collective lives are going to get a little bit easier? I'll just use the example of the 20-somethings that can sit around and trade crypto and make money hand over fist, but right now they're not making any money hand over fist because everything's pulled back. So now they're going to have to get real jobs. I see an environment where I always think of it as dealing from a position of strength or a position of weakness. There's times where I'm dealing with a situation from a position of strength and I can control the negotiation, so to speak. There's other times where I'm like, I just need help. I'm desperate. I don't have it. I feel like we've been dealing from a position of weakness because the labor force has been so challenging for a couple of years. I almost feel like it's going to start to turn, and it may mean that our lives are going to get more difficult as business owners financially for a period of time, but things are going to kind of come back to the center. Do you see any chance of that? So.
Well, as we both have lived through now the Great Resignation, right? Yeah. And there has been talk that that's over, that ship is finally moving on and sailing. So I hope there's a lot of truth to what you're speaking.
Do you have some employees that have been with you for years through thick and thin? And
yes, I have a few that have been there through the beginning.
Yeah.
The ones that the diehards that they're going to be there, till the end. And then we have some new young talent as well, a new young artisan that moved into the area, and then a new assistant that I was able to hire for me to keep me intact, to keep me doing things like this. Yeah. So it's slowly opening up, and I can see it. So
there's an incredible amount of talent out there. I mean, it's like just getting, I think getting access to them and bringing them in and teaching them your business, right? And then they'll probably be able to go and run and do things that we could never do. Like our minds don't work that way.
Exactly. I'm just over that hump of the age period of not understanding, like how can you sit there and take 20,000 pictures of yourself that day and like 4 come out? It seems exhausting to me.
Yeah.
I get it. And I know they're making great money. It seems exhausting, but I think I'm just too old now, which is okay.
Just stand back and watch that.
Too seasoned, and that's okay.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
good
all
with
right.
that.
Talk to me about your trunk shows.
Yeah, they are fun. So trunk shows, we invite the artisans in. and the artisans and designers have so much more jewelry than we're able to fill our cases with. We have to have other designers, and it's a lot of money. So they literally bring everything that's in their new product line and everything that they have, that one of a kinds and couture pieces, what we call couture and one-offs.
Mm-hmm.
And we do billboards, we do certainly advertising in the paper, the magazines.
Mm-hmm.
And we even, for most of our big trunk shows, we'll send out a postcard. And people we hear today, they love getting that postcard, that old fashioned piece of mail they love seeing. And that's when the artisan comes and we just display their beautiful jewelry. And it's a lot of fun.
You do a really good job reaching out to people. Like I get text.
The text messaging.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because we're tied to our phones. So this is where I'm going to lead into my crazy story I told you I had.
Oh, goodness.
Crazy
good, I hope.
Crazy funny because I can laugh at myself. So part of this already, which is that, help me with the designer's name. Is her name Erica Molinari?
Erica Molinari.
Thank you. Okay, so I did pretty good there. We'll
One
tag
of the coolest,
hashtag Erica.
Coolest designers that we carry exclusively.
Yeah, so.
The Olympian gone.
Yeah, tell me that story. I don't know that story.
She grew up at Lake Placid,
okay.
And she did the luge, and her brother was a snow skier. And she, after the 88 and 92 Olympics, she hung up doing her sport and told her husband, I think I want to. She wears zero jewelry. Keep that in mind. Mm-hmm. She's 6 foot tall, she's athletic, like no makeup, not that like foo-foo jewelry girl you would think.
Yes.
She told her husband, she goes, I think I want to design jewelry. And he's like, well, I think you should then. She loved looking at jewelry with her grandmother when her grandmother would drag her to jewelry stores. Uh-huh. But she just is not your jewelry girl. She's one of the hippest people. You have to meet her next February. Yeah. She comes every February and she loves our clients.
So we came in February.
Okay, you did.
No,
sorry, I don't remember that.
No, it's okay. Because actually we were interacting with her and you were busy on our first stop. That was the first stop. That's what started the story. And so it had to be right before Valentine's Day. I got the thing for the trunk show probably. And I told Heather, hey, let's go. We're going to go do something. And I didn't tell her what we were doing. And we just went. And I said, we're just going to check it out and see if there's something fun here. And so we ended up buying her a chain with one of the crosses that had some diamonds in it. Mm-hmm. Very cool little edgy cross, that vibe that she's got.
Black rhodium
yes.
with the pave.
And we looked at a bunch of other things and I'm like, these are a little salty. I was like, she's a good designer, right? But I had no idea. I mean, right. I know when I walk in your store, I'm going to spend a few dollars, but I didn't know. We had no idea what we were doing. We were just going to kind of roll with it. So we got the cross. So then fast forward to a little bit later. Mm-hmm. And the little bit later is that we just hit our 14th wedding anniversary. And we have this little thing that we do every year. Like, okay, what's the theme of the anniversary? Probably something that you guys laugh at in your world. Mm-hmm. Well, back when it was the 4th anniversary and I'm like, what the hell am I going to get her for 4th anniversary? I'll look on the internet. What's the 4th anniversary theme? Oh, it's like paper, wood, aluminum, or it's whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, what am I going to do with that?
Goofy.
So yeah. Iron. So now all these years later, now at 14, I'm like, what's the theme? Like, I just know I'm going to go see what the theme is. And the theme was gold and it was ivory and it was opal. I'm like, okay, I'm not buying opal and I'm not buying her a elephant tusk ivory. Or whatever.
It's illegal now. But.
Yes. So, but the gold resonated and I thought I'm going to go back in and see if there's another one of those Erica Molinari charms, we'll call it. And so I came in and you helped me. And I went through the painstaking process of saying, I think she'll like that. I don't know if she'll like that. And we were looking at them and I finally landed on the little gold heart one that had a little Italian saying on it. And then you and I start talking about that you had been to Turks and Caicos and my wife and I were getting ready to go. And we're talking about this trip. And you package it up. We can talk about that trip in a minute too. But you package it up and you're like, here, I'll wrap it and put it together for you. So we get home that night. She opens it. I'm like, look, another charm. She loved it. And I said,
I thought you were going to tell me it wasn't in there or something.
No. It was in there. We're good. We're good. And we're laying in bed. And I'm like, I forgot to look up the Italian phrase that was on there. I meant to look it up in the store, but I got to talking to you about the trip. And so I look it up, and
no.
I was speechless. And then she's like, "What does it mean?" I'm like, "I can't tell you." And she's like, "What do you mean you can't tell me?" And I'm like,
"Oh no."
I said, I can't even get the words out. At this point, I'm starting to laugh, and I've like almost got tears in my eyes. And she's like, "What does it mean?" What the F? In Italian. I lost it. It
that's
was
how
the
hip Erica
funniest.
is.
Exactly, right? It was the funniest thing. And she's like, "You got me a what the charm for our anniversary." I'm like, "Love you."
It's like we made
will
it.
Never,
what the F? We made it.
ever forget this. And I've told 100 people the story. I just think it's the funniest thing.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I'm a total fool. But you know what? We went on that trip. It looks really good. Right next to the cross. There's probably a
little oxymoron
there, but she looked really pretty in it, and she wears it, and it's got its own meaning. So
that's funny.
So funny.
That's funny and not funny.
Yeah,
and I apologize.
Funny.
We should have gone over that in the store.
Well, the other ones were like amore, and and there were little crosses
where
etched
there's
into it.
like family and life and love, and then
she had some skulls, so I knew that there was a chance that there was an edge to something. But yeah, so you tell her that one of your loyal clients gave his wife on her 14th anniversary a what the F heart
priceless.
charm.
I will see her at
to
market.
Go right next to the cross.
That will be a fun conversation. So that same saying we put on, not knowing what it said because we don't speak. Yeah. I think it was Latin. Maybe it is. I think it's Latin.
Is it Latin?
It's Latin.
Yeah, I said Italian.
So
I don't even know.
We put it
That's terrible.
on our postcard, and we put it on every storefront at the 56 in Illinois. And some lady comes marching in from Kincaid's, and she's like, "Do you know what that says? I speak Latin. Do you know what that says? You can't say that." We're like, what? And she told us, we're like, "Okay, reprint."
You had to take them all
Rip
down.
them down. So we took them all down and reprinted. So yeah, every now and again, Erica, she'll throw a funny one in there like that because it's what she's thinking at the time, and that's what artisans do. They create what their language is at that moment. So
how do you identify which designers that you work with? Is it visual with product, or is it like, are you trying to get this? What I'm trying to say. Like, are you trying to span across different looks or genres? I don't know how you
like genres. Yeah, certainly. I will have one style, right? I like a certain maybe contemporary look, and maybe it's more core, maybe a little less funky. So at market, I do try to take one other person with me so we can bounce off of each other. Because we like what we like, right? Mm-hmm. We're humans. We gravitated towards the same thing. And we have to branch out because not everybody's going to fit my style. So I try to think of the area of which we're in, the clientele. We have such a diverse clientele being at 56 Illinois, as you can imagine. From blue bloods that have been there for a long, long time to the new Broad Ripple. We just got married. I have $500 to spend at an anniversary. Yep. So we really try to have price points from $250 to, well, sky's the limit in our estate pieces and in our diamond core. So, and I think that's what differentiates, not even what differentiates, that was a goal of mine when I opened Petite G. So forever, what I fought against being the buyer at Thraps, what I heard as a salesperson, oh, my parents shop at G Thrap. I can't afford to shop there. And I really wanted to change that because those parents are not going to be buyers, certainly through my store, right? If you hit a certain level and you don't need any more jewelry. Yeah,
they're your next clients for the next 20, 30, 40 years too, if you can bring them in the door and give them that David Yurman intro ring experience that just makes an impression, right?
So we have what we call the Littles case. Yeah. And it's just that really nifty price point, very hip, very edgy, very in the trend that gets the 20 and 30. And what can I get her for high school graduation? And what can I get for being baptized even? Right. We have price points and items at that level, age level.
What percentage, when I say this, I'm not sure that I really even care about the percentage, but like, what's the balance of your business that's wedding driven versus just everyday jewelry driven. Yeah, fashion.
So we're not going to be the distinctive diamonds of the world.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
But we have such a loyal following, generational following.
Mm-hmm.
So because my parents shopped here, this is where I want to get. I grew up coming here.
Yep.
I'm getting my wedding ring from you. So we have a nice bridal business for the size of our store and for our capacity. What a lot of people don't know is we have a design studio downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
So did you even know that?
Maybe not. I didn't know
because
I haven't had
to wrap. But So what's down there is 2 bench jewelers and a watchmaker's bench. So we are able to do quick service. If somebody buys an engagement ring and we can set a stone in an hour, we can do it.
You can do
so
it.
We're capable. So
okay.
we want to be that well-rounded. Not only do we have like really hip, cool fashion pieces and we sell bridal and diamonds, but our repair services, he's 30 years on the bench. He was one of Gary Thrapp's original jewelers and we still have him. So it's really important to me that when you bring your family heirloom, when you bring your engagement ring and we have to maybe repair the prongs or replace a little side diamond that's missing, it's done right there in-house.
Which it's always interesting to me that you're always looking and thinking about those things, even like if we're coming in for something else, you'll look at Heather's ring or somebody will say something and just check it and make sure. Just her wedding ring and hey, is it okay? Or do you want us to clean it while you're here? Just those little things that again are just relationship solidifiers. Like all of those little things just contribute to the experience all the way through. And I think that's not lost on me when I come in. It's one of the reasons that kind of keep coming back, right? You get that experience. It's kind of like you go to a restaurant and you interact with people that are nice and they're really happy to have you and appreciative. It's very different than the person who's like, next. And so you tend to go back to places where you feel that welcomeness.
That love.
Yeah.
Feel the love and feel important.
You mentioned watches. I was going to ask you earlier, excuse me, is the watch business what it used to be with
Well, it's crazy right now. That Rolex business is crazy. And since we don't sell it, and I've really never worked in a watch house boutique jewelry store, so I would say that the brands that I would want to carry are already carried and represented in our city. So then, therefore, we can't get them. It's expensive to have, right? The overhead. You typically have to have a security guard, and a lot of people in our boutique area, and we have the screen door, the big door open in the screen, and they don't want a cop standing
and
there.
The dog
so
in there. And,
so it's just not our motif. Can we get a watch for someone? Absolutely, through secondhand.
But you do repairs of
But we
them.
do, yes. We have a really nice repair service on watches. He comes in 2 days a week and does our repairs. We do carry a brand that I am very passionate about, the Shinola brand. And I will say that it is carried in one other location, but it's a nice brand to have. It's made in the Midwest. I love it. I stand behind it. The price points are great. And so that's one brand we do carry.
Interesting. How do you market your business? Like, obviously we talk about all these relationship things, and I know you're doing, social media stuff, but like when I think about it, I think you have a similar challenge to me is like, do you just market to an area, or because you're doing some relationship related things with fashion jewelry, with designers, your reach could go outside of your neighborhood easily. But then you start thinking about use of dollars and how am I going to reach these people? Like, where have you come to with how you try to reach potential clients? Because it's an ongoing challenge for me.
It is a very ongoing challenge. So we do depend slightly on those branded designers that we carry. They will post about us as well. So that goes hand in hand. So they may have somebody in Kentucky, like Erica may have somebody in Kentucky that doesn't represent her. So they'll call us and we're able to ship a piece to, out of the state. FedEx will fly anywhere. Yep. It's not inexpensive anymore because of gas, but the truck will get there. So we depend on them as well. And then, our Google, we just had that conversation today. Our Google search is huge. And because, knock on wood, we have a 5-star rating, people that come in for the first time, we always ask, how did you hear of us? 9 times out of 10, it's Google. And that is strictly because of our rating.
So that's an interesting topic in and of itself. Then There's a new business. They just rebranded. The name of it was, I think it was like 5-star business review. Now they've just rebranded to Liftify, and it's a young tech guy who worked at a very big corporate company just doing review generation because they see how important that online reputation is. And he's located here in this market, and all he does is help generate Google reviews for businesses. He'd left his corporate job, started his own thing, and literally just is in the process of rebranding because he's exploding. And it's all around online Google review generation, with the idea that people, strangers who don't know us, will accept a 5-star rating from strangers as a reputation, third-party endorsement. And you're seeing it. Sounds like you're absolutely seeing it.
We are. So our POS system, it enables us, when we give a receipt, to send a Google request.
Nice.
So that's automatic. So we do that. Now, obviously, there's customers that come in monthly, repairs, because they love jewelry, that we don't want to burn them out. I don't even think they're able to leave a second and third review.
But still,
every person that comes in, we ask for a review, and they give it. They're really, and we tell them it helps small businesses. It helps the small brick and mortar businesses that aren't able to outreach and have the dollar bills to do all the big time marketing.
Has there ever been a thought in your mind to go to a second location or another, or you're like, no, I'm good?
If I was a decade younger, yes.
Would it? I'm
sad to say I'm on the back half of my career.
No. I mean, we're about the same age, and I think the same way. I mean, like, at some place, your time is as valuable as making another dollar, right? And if I could have more time, and it's hard to get time as it is, probably in your world and mine, right? So I just wondered if in your business, the brick and mortar locations were the way to grow a business, or really is it through finding other ways, spreading yourself?
Thin. Yeah. So we probably 4 years ago, we looked at a store near where I live, because I don't live close to the store. So really? I do drive about 40 minutes, and there was a store for sale, and we had probably 2 conversations with the previous owner, and I just couldn't do it. We prayed a lot about it. We chatted, me and my husband chatted about it clearly a lot, and I couldn't do it. I love the area so much that I've worked in for 30 years that, no, it can't be 30 years, for 20 some years, that I couldn't split my time.
Yeah.
And my time can't be split. So I have to just cast my lot into one place and put all my, at least that's the way. I mean, maybe it's the wrong way of thinking. I don't know.
No, I don't know that it is. Do you,
given my age,
do you think at this point one of the things that I find is I would love to be able to pull myself out of my business a little bit more, but in doing that, I know what the trade-offs are, and I feel like I want to make sure that the client experience is such that I like being part of at least that early process of everything. Are you a big part of everything? Like, can you get away, or is it a nightmare to get away? Like, as I pull you away in the middle of a day today.
Well, that's what we're hoping to do with my new assistant. Okay. Just give me a little bit of time here and there, especially in the summer when it's go time and we want to enjoy. And given where we live, those are activities on the reservoir that we want to enjoy. So I'm really hands-on. And as you know, in your business, you're the best salesperson for your company, and people really want you and your touch and your experience and your opinion. So it's hard, but I feel we have a good group, a really good group right now, and having a new assistant, again, very, very fresh. That just little snapshots here and there, and I think bringing a new person in like that, kind of under my wing. It's easier for okay, you're Dana's assistant. Okay, I'll go ahead and leave my precious jewels with you, because, versus another salesperson. No, I'll wait till Dana.
Or I'll come
Dana's
back.
Here. I'll come back, right?
Well, it is funny because I know when I come in, if I have a chance, your people probably will realize it. Is Dana here? You just develop a relationship where you're like, okay, well, and then you're like, okay, you can talk to her, or you can.
She doesn't bite.
Yeah, I know. That's why I hired them. But you get to know people, and you're like, okay, that's my people. That's why I came back.
Right.
So I would imagine it would be hard.
Yeah,
it's everything, right?
When you know the people and you know what they like and you know what they have, then they want your touch and your opinion. So that I'll never give up. And I can't say, I don't think I can be away from the store for 2 weeks. I don't think I could ever go on a 2-week vacation. I think personally, I would miss it. Yeah. I would have the FOMO, right? What am I missing? Who's coming in? Yeah. And it's not necessarily a controlling thing. It's because we love what we do. It's the relationship, and it's the passion of why we are where we are and what got us there. And
you probably interact with so many people on a daily and weekly basis, just the coming and going. And it might not even be somebody buying something. It might be just somebody you've sold to that was running into Kincaid's and wanted to stop in and say hi as they're getting ready to, or go to their car or whatever, right? That like that you can't replace.
Weekly. Yeah. They don't need anything. They just they were in the area. We want them. Stop by. You're not wasting our time. We want to see you. Yeah. So I wouldn't give that up for a minute. I love that. I am a relationship person, and everybody that knows me, because I am I put so many couples together, and they're like, you do that so you can sell the engagement ring. I'm like, well, they can't get it anywhere else.
It doesn't hurt, right?
I am like the best matchmaker. I've set so many people up because I just love that connection and connecting of people. I'm putting great people together.
You were talking about going on vacation for 2 weeks. Now we can talk about the vacation, because you gave me some ideas. And I have to tell you, I always hesitate talking about these things. Like I didn't post anything about our vacation on social media, really. I don't want to big time anybody. Like, it was the first big trip we'd taken in a long time. My wife did a ton of research, and
I think we spoke about that.
And that's what you gave me ideas. So and I had no idea. Like I told you, you're like, where are you going? And I'm like, I think we're going to Main Island. Then she's taken me to another island, and she had planned this. So cool. And I really couldn't tell you anything. And then you said, well, here's what we really like. So when we went to the Main Island, to Provo, we went to Grace's cottage and had dinner, and it was fantastic. So we went to Coco Van and had dinner out at the Airstreamer out there. That was super cool.
So cool. Flip-flops and t-shirt.
Yeah, it was great. Now here's the funny part about that. So funny, not funny. Again, I can laugh at myself, so it doesn't matter. So she's like, should we rent a car or not when we're there? You know, they drive on the opposite side of the road. And I'm like, yeah, it'll just give us more control over our day. So she rented a Jeep. We get in the Jeep, we pull out of the rental car place. I'm like, I have to, and now not only do I have to drive on the opposite side of the road, or the other side of the road, but the steering wheel is on the other side of the Jeep. So everything is backwards. So I just keep telling myself, do the opposite. We pull out. Now I'm trying to get my GPS to where the hell we're supposed to go to our place that we stayed. And we get to the first intersection, and this big Mack truck starts slowing down. I'm like, okay, it's a four-way stop. I start to pull out. Another car's coming, and she's like, you're going to get us killed. I'm like, yeah, I think we might die. I really think we might die. We get through that intersection, which I later figured out was actually a 2-lane highway with no stop. It was just a truck slowing down, and I had no idea where the hell we were.
He knew you didn't know what you were doing.
He knew probably there was a rental car place. We get there, we park it. I'm like, holy hell, I need a drink. And so we go, and that night we're going to dinner, and she's like, we're just taking a taxi. And I'm like, we've got this car. She's like, we're just taking a taxi. I'm like, that's fine. And I'm like, we really will be fine. She's like, we're taking a taxi. So we take a taxi to the downtown area. And I said that we were going to Coco Van or Coco Van, or however you say it. And he drops it. He says, is this okay? I'm like, yeah, hell, I don't know where we are. Yeah, this is fine. We had to walk like another 3/4 of a mile from that downtown area all the way out to the place. But it was great.
Kind of in the
it's out there. It was out there. But it was very, very cool. It was really neat. And I really liked it. I did get to resume driving the next day when she
got permission.
Realized that we had to walk all that way. I think she's like, okay, the taxi's really aren't any better.
Better than you. So you can drive us.
So we survived the rest of it. But then we did that for a few days, and then we got on a small little, I call it like a puddle jumper plane. And we went to South Caicos, this island it was like a 28-minute flight. We got there, we landed, it was just an airstrip, and literally the airport is being built. They're building an airport, but it's not there yet. And containers, like big containers from the container ships. One of them was the check-in and check-out, and another one was where you waited to get on a plane.
Wow.
And they had an air conditioner in one. That's the level of sophistication of this island. We got off the plane. God bless us that we made it. We landed. And there was a van there, and it took us on a dirt road for 15 minutes. And we got to this beautiful, beautiful place called Sail Rock.
Okay.
And it was this resort that you go to one side of the island, and it was the Caribbean, the beautiful water and the white sand, and probably about 10 to 20 beach chairs and a beach bar where they serve meals. And then you go to the other side of the island, and it was the Atlantic with the dark blue water. And you look out over the horizon, and the surf is like hitting the coral. And they told us, like, right there at that part where the surf was hitting the coral, that it drops 7,000 feet right there. And the whales go out there, and had just been there. We didn't see any whales. I got up every morning looking for them, but I didn't see any.
No whales to be
But
found.
and it was like a 5 to 10 minute walk from one side of the island to the other. And that was where we stayed for the next handful of days. And we would pass wild donkeys that were just on this island, and they would just kind of look at you like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
As you would walk by.
Why are you
here? It was the craziest thing, but it was a really cool
So are
experience.
you one that you can relax and unplug, or did you go a little stir crazy with not a lot?
I always have work issues, but once I got through the first few days of getting settled and kind of decompressing, for me, I need a few days just to almost unwind, and then I'm good.
Okay.
And the other thing too, like in my world, if I'm doing a group of big projects where we've been at the house for a month or two, or even a few weeks, and we're settled into a routine, I can say, okay, you guys are there, you'll be there all week. You guys are there, you'll be there for 3 days this week. And, but the mix of projects was, we're starting that job on Wednesday, and I know you know nothing about it, so I got to make sure you have information. All of that was just hitting at a bad time. So it took me a little bit longer to unwind, but once I did, it was
And just
it
take
was
a little
great.
longer.
Yeah, that's what I need to do. But a week, I'm pretty good at a week.
Yeah, that I start getting pretty anxious. I need to get back.
And I find when I'm gone like
sad.
that, I'm always kind of observing everything around me about like the level of service or what the experience that I'm having and how it relates to my business. So I actually just wrote a blog that we put up on our website, and I called it 4 Limes. And it's a really interesting story that I'll tell you, because it just shows like when somebody gives good service. When we got to that resort, we got settled. We went down to the little store, and we go in, and they've got like suntan lotion and drinks and just little odds and ends, right? Like kind of whatever you need. You need aspirin, they've got it. And we grabbed a 6-pack of Corona Light, and my wife turns to the single person working in there, and she's like, do you have any fresh limes or have any limes? I don't think she said fresh. And I kind of looked at her, and I'm looking around the store going, I don't see any limes in here. That person, I thought for sure going to say, I'm sorry, ma'am, we don't. They said, can you hang on a minute? Excuse me a minute. Left the store, left us in there. We could have robbed the place blind. Left the store, went to the restaurant at the resort, and brought back 4 fresh limes for her to take.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like that level of service is amazing. And that's what sticks with me from that whole trip. Of everything that we experienced and did was that person in that store going and doing that.
Very cool.
And so I kind of wrote a blog about, like even in our world and what you're doing with repairing somebody something, or just having an interaction or helping them find something at an entry price point. I'm like, we got something to meet your lower budget. That's a lime. We'll help you fix your watch. That's a lime. And in our world, we'll help you carry something up the steps that has nothing to do with our project. That's a lime. You have to we'll go chase a product for you that will take us hours to find, but that you saw that you liked. Those are the things that kind of differentiate you. And I think that's kind of what brought me to the conversation, wanting to talk to you today in that conversation, because I pick up that those are the things that you do in your world. And I like talking to people that think that way and pick up things from you. So
I love that saying that's the line, because that's what you can't find online, right?
Yeah. You'll never get that, right? You won't get that. And helping people to understand that there's a difference. And I think the other piece too is acknowledging we can probably both acknowledge that we're not going to be right for every relationship, for every family. And if somebody wants that, I tell every person that I have a conversation with about a project, even if I don't help you with this project, even if we don't do it, you can call me and ask me a question. If I can keep you out of trouble or answer a question for you, I don't care if you're in a project with a guy 3 months down the road and he tells you something and you're like, I don't think he's telling me the truth. And you just don't know who to call. You can call me. I don't care.
Yeah, you'll be the sounding board.
I'll just give you some help just to keep you out of trouble. So it's okay if somebody wants to go buy the online something, because it may not be a fit for what they're doing at a given time but if you're helpful, man, they come back. And if you're nice, they come back. So I think acknowledging, this is kind of a question that I'd be interested in. Do you have clients walk in that you're like, I don't think we can help you? Or is that very, very rare?
In the aspect of
anything. Maybe they're not nice. Well, okay, that could be in your world, right?
For sure in our world.
Yeah. Do you say, I'm sorry? Well, I mean, how does that work? I can't even imagine what that experience would be like in today's world.
That is not easy, because I have been in a handful of those situations. So,
give me for example of how do you politely excuse somebody from your store that you're uncomfortable with?
Well, we did have an incident last summer where someone he reached in the case to try to grab, because I just had a gut feeling, and I've been in the industry long enough that I knew what he was asking for wasn't making sense, and he was all over the board. Yeah. And he just kept jumping around.
You've seen enough videos online too.
Yeah, exactly. I've been there. I have a good sixth sense. And when I wouldn't get out the product in the case that he wanted to potentially buy or stated that he wanted to buy, he reached in to grab it. And because I was, my awareness was so heightened, I ripped it out of his hand, and I said a not very nice word to him. And I said, you get out of here. I knew what you were up to. You're under arrest. Came out, which I should have arrested him somehow. I don't know who was arresting him. Yeah. But it's just because I knew. And so.
Did he leave?
And he left. He skipped out of the store. I'll have to show you the video. So I don't know exactly what he was on, because I don't do those kind of drugs. But somebody's like, oh, he was on something. He skipped. I don't have anything. I think because I said the cops are waiting for you, he threw up his hands, and that's when all the 12 pair of diamond earrings came out that he was trying to steal. So that could have been a big loss. So, you just have to be.
You've got, that's a dynamic that is really, really unfortunate to deal with.
Especially when times get tough. Yeah. Inflation gets high. Yeah. The economy goes bad. It's only gets worse. And
people don't give anymore. I mean, there's no moral conscience to some people in today's day and age. I mean, I clearly understand tough times and have an incredible amount of respect for that. But there are people that have no respect. And that's crazy.
I know there's, they try to use their drug money and try to launder it through. I don't want it. It's not important to me to make that sale to take that amount of cash when you just know that it's not what you should be doing. So
you went to a place I wasn't expecting. I was thinking, do you have bad clients that just are a drain on your soul, where you're I don't think you're trying to find something, but
we're just not a really good fit here.
Yeah. And how you politely say, I just don't know if we're going to have what you want. Or do you have that? Or is it just such the exception?
Very, very seldom.
Yeah.
Just very seldom. Now, I know that there's some clients' expectations that are just so high. And so, but I am such a yes person. I'm such a pleaser.
You'll figure out
and
a way
I'm
to
so
do it.
anal retentive. I'm a 1 on the Enneagram. So I'm like, okay, I'm a people pleaser because I wing 9. So I'm like, how can I make this happen? And I want to put it all together but it needs to be perfect.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I say yes a lot, maybe sometimes when I shouldn't, but I do. And I don't know if that's just, again, 6 going into our 7th year is relatively a new business, right? I mean, I've done it forever, so I'm a veteran. But
well, I have an analogy for that I've used for years, and so I'm in my 23rd year of business. But all that means in my mind is that we are like a typical 23-year-old from a business perspective. We think we know everything, and we think we've seen it all and done it all, and we haven't. We still keep learning it, right? Maybe when I'm in my 40s and 50s of business, if I make it that long, if I live that long, I probably will have seen and done everything. But like you, at 6 or 7 years old,
it's
like
a 6
we're
or
just
7 year old
figuring it out.
mentality.
Yeah,
That's scary,
right? And
Right.
and we've been through all of the. You go through all of those cycles where you're at 1, 2, 3 years. You don't know anything, right? You're just flying by seat of your pants and trying to figure it out and hoping somebody feeds you. And now you can feed yourself. That's good,
Feeling
right?
good,
And then,
right.
but I do think there's an interesting parallel to some of that, because as you experience things and you experience the world through your ownership eyes, your interests will change and your relationships will go where it feels right, right? And so I think it's very interesting that you've taken what was a bigger location, right? You shrunk it down and you focused it to the things that fit you. This is the outside perspective of what I see, and fit where you want to go with the business. But you didn't lose the feel that bigger location had. So you really just shrunk your real estate and saved yourself some money.
right? Smaller
But
platform.
focused the experience, which I think is very, very cool.
Well, thank you. So I have an interesting question for you, if
Yeah.
you don't mind.
No, like whatever.
'Cause this is something that maybe I've been, I don't want to say struggling with, but a little bit of dealing. So you being in 23 years of your own business.
Family owned, in fairness. So if my parents or my sister or somebody or my brother's been in this business is watching this, they'll be like, "You jackass! We were around for a bunch of."
This was not a startup by you.
No.
So are they still involved?
No.
So it's just you.
Yeah.
And how long have you been independent
It's
of
been
them?
me for 4 years, maybe.
Okay.
So
this will be a good question for you.
Yeah.
Do you feel, because sometimes I feel this way, like, who am I going to learn from? Like, I always had Gary there.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I could always learn and sponge his knowledge.
Yeah.
So I've been there independently for, this will be my 7th Christmas. And I'm like, I feel like I hit a plateau. Like I'm not learning anymore.
So why you think I'm doing this podcast?
Well, there you go. Okay.
I mean, part of it, seriously.
So that makes
part
sense.
of it.
Okay.
I mean, that's a silly answer, a
just
little bit, but
branching out in different.
I will talk to as many people as I can talk to learn something, just to keep thinking through. Like, I'm asking you these questions with a sincere, genuine interest because I buy from you and it's in your business is interesting to me. But I'm also processing, how do they do things? She said reviews are really important to her. I got to do more with reviews. Like, I'm already going away thinking about that thing.
Okay.
And I think in my world, that's why I asked you earlier too, do you get to talk to other jewelry store owners? I used to be in a group of remodelers across the country. I was in it for probably 10, 12 years, where it was 20 remodelers across the country. We could talk about anything and everything. We would meet together twice a year, 2 or 3 hours. 2 or 3 days at a time. And we'd probably spend 2 or 3 hours getting hammered at night on one of the nights, talking about business outside of business, right? But we would share everything about our businesses. And that was really, really good. And I could call a few of those people today. And that would be like if you were interacting with your peers in another city. It's harder to have that in a market area. But I've kind of, like, through the Builder Association, I've just done it. If I may compete with somebody, I don't care. Like there's enough to go around for all of us. If I could help that person and they help me, we're good. I think the relationships piece plays itself forward so many ways. I mean, we're sitting in the showroom of a company called the Glass House Gallery, which is a division of our division. It's a branding element of Franklin Window and Door here at the Indiana Design Center right now. And I got to know these people through buying from them and interacting with them. And then next thing you know, they're saying to me, would you be interested in installing doors and windows for us? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't have time. Well, we can try it. And then we tried it in early COVID. Now they send every one of them to me. Yep. I'm getting ready to start a project here in a week or two. And we sold a front door, the client that they sent us a front door. We're getting ready to do a $600,000 remodel project from a front door, from a conversation that they had, would you do this, from just those those things. So in my mind, I totally agree with and understand where you're at. I do feel at times in my world, and I think this is probably where you're going to too, that we can be in our businesses in it, or we can be standing looking at our businesses thinking that nobody else understands all of the elements that we're thinking about. Like our employees might be thinking about the 2 or 3 or 4 things that impact them, but they don't understand all of the things that are coming in every direction that we're thinking about. You're thinking about the buying, you're thinking about who's going to be here next week. I got to, who wins that trunk show coming for that. Like you have all these things going on and you're just like, man, I wish I could talk to somebody and figure out.
Like putting out fires every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's I think that's a never ending battle. Now, interestingly enough, in this business we're in here right now, Scott, one of the owners, I was talking to him the other day, he has successfully completely removed himself from the day-to-day of this business. And I am incredibly envious of that. I don't know if I could personally let go that way, but he's got a really good team of people. They're executing it the way that he would want. And I would say, even if it was 85% of the way I wanted, I could probably live with that. So there's something to be said for that.
E-Myth, and that the E-Myth way.
Yeah.
There's a few businesses in our city that have done it.
Absolutely.
Greg Gossip,
yeah,
David Brenner, they work on the business, not in the business.
Yes.
So if we can do,
I'm there about a day a week. I at least set aside my Fridays to work on it instead of in it. And it doesn't always work out that way. But I think more and more, it probably for you too, as time becomes more of a priority over money. And that's one of the things Scott said. He's like, man, I want my time. But then as a result of having his time, he's like, hey, do you got a few minutes to talk so we can kind of talk about things coming down the road? And next thing you know, now we're having a big picture conversation because he's got time to talk about it. I mean, those things, I always say everything happens for a reason, but I do think that that's very, very interesting when people can get out of their business and really work on it all the time.
And concentrate on it.
Yeah.
That's the next goal.
And have some free time, right?
And have a little bit of free time.
Exactly. What have we not talked about that you're like, I thought for sure he was going to ask me about this and he didn't? You probably thought, I don't even know what the hell he's going to ask me about.
I don't know. I was just showing up. I was showing up for the mimosa.
You did. You got the mimosa.
I was
That's
like, wow,
good.
we're drinking this morning? That sounds like a good way to start off the Memorial Weekend because everybody else in the city is.
That's right. Yep.
So I think
that's good. All right. I appreciate it very, very much.
Absolutely.
Like I said, I'm a big fan of your business.
Thank you. So sweet
I would always recommend anybody that is looking for a good relationship and just somebody has really cool things that they come your way and come check out your store because it really is great. And the people are so nice. And to me, people are everything in any business. And that's what's stuck with me about your store. And so thank you for taking the time to do this today. I really appreciate it.
You are welcome. Thank you for choosing me.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Do you have a home remodeling question? Or would you like to know what the best remodeling plan would be to fit your lifestyle? Submit your questions now at lifestylegroup.com, and we may answer them on a future episode. Stay tuned to see what advice the Lifestyle Group has for you on the next episode of the Do You Plan podcast.